All of these words are concepts that surround many people's current perception of prophecy. If this is you, you're not alone. Honestly, I had similar thoughts about prophecy myself. That's why we want to make a YouTube series that will totally rebrand prophecy and spread this vital message to millions of young people who have become disillusioned by an outdated delivery of prophecy. As for me, prophecy was something shrouded in mystery. I didn't understand it, and I wasn't even sure if it was something I needed to be afraid of, or if maybe it was some sort of religious nonsense I could just ignore. I remember watching groups of elderly people gathering after church services to study prophecy, and they would pull out their books and their computers and enthusiastically sharing little tidbits of information, like as if they were solving a crossword puzzle or something, except this time with strange words like Ancient of Days or Armageddon or 2300 days. In the meantime, I began to discover the core of Christianity, a relationship with Christ. I was so inspired by the love of God that I wrote off prophecy as just a religious rabbit hole for the intellectually haughty. And I came to believe that the real soul of Christianity was not found in prophecy. Then I ran into this guy. Both of us worked at Messiah's Mansion, me as a video editor and he as a speaker. He would wander out of his office looking for someone to share his most recent discoveries with. And as I listened, I became very intrigued. I began to wonder if there was something deeper to this topic that I had previously discarded. I learned that Daniel isn't a dark riddle full of scary beasts and bizarre imagery. That instead, Daniel is the story of a teenage boy ripped from home and heritage. A boy who grew up into a man who realized the broken state of God's mission to reunite with his children. I learned that Israel's purpose was to reflect the character of God to the surrounding nations, to rebuild the world's trust in God. But that instead, Israel betrayed the very God they were to represent. This is the context of the 2300 days. God showed Daniel that although his nation would be freed from Babylon in 70 years, God's mission would not be fully mended until 2,300 years later, when a remnant people would finally reflect God's character in its full beauty. That generation, appointed to shine forth God's radical love to the world, that generation is us. I had no idea that prophecy was so clear and beautiful. Because honestly, yes, I had grown up familiar with prophecy. I had heard lots about beasts and dragons and hellfire, but I didn't really know what it all meant. The truth is, a lot of Adventists, and maybe even you, have grown up the same way. Many of us are familiar with prophecy, but we don't grasp the big picture. And as I read the book, Final Events, I became even more convinced that I needed to do something to change that. The light that Daniel received from God was given especially for these last days. The unfulfilled predictions of the book of Revelation are soon to be fulfilled. It does not conceal the truth, it clearly forewarns, telling us what will be in the future. There are many who do not understand the prophecies relating to these days, and they must be enlightened. Great pains should be taken to keep this subject before the people. The problem is clear. The generation that needs to do a key work in bringing on the coming of Christ knows little about the very messages that will spark them into action. Why? Because prophecy has been misbranded. Satan knows that prophecy, if understood correctly, will strengthen, inspire, and focus our generation for the work we need to accomplish. He knows this. So Satan has done everything he can to brand prophecy as a dark, scary, and unapproachable topic. Our goal is to rebrand prophecy. We believe that prophecy only makes sense when discovered in the context of the bigger picture of the great controversy. And that when you see each piece fit together, it becomes something so much bigger and more beautiful.
We search prophecy for what's going to happen. We want to find out what's going to happen. But what we really want to know is why. Like, it's the why that answers the question of God's character. It's the why that helps us to understand that God is still loving, even though he allows all these things that seem so scary in Bible prophecy.
And when we see prophecy as a story, we understand the why.
We understand why, because it's going to help to answer all those difficult questions about prophecy.
We want to stop explaining dates, timelines, beasts, and little horns, and instead focus on telling the story of prophecy. And you know the best part? It's our story. So who's doing this? Who's telling the story of prophecy? Who's giving this generation the thing we need most? A simple, beautifully animated YouTube prophecy series focused on telling the story and taking prophecy out of the theoretical and into the practical blueprint for this generation's 11th hour success. I would venture to say, no one. This is why 2 months ago, I began working on a website telling the story around the 2300-day prophecy. Like usual, I talked to Anthony Montague about the topic to capture the vision for the site. I wanted to build a site to gain exposure and support to eventually publish a video. Then I ran into the Haystack. The organization's goal is to improve the quality of Adventist media. And this summer, they launched a contest for content creators to help them bring their ideas to life. If this project is among the winners, they will offer finances and guidance to help get this project off the ground. So if you want to see this project come to fruition, share this video with anyone you can. Anthony and I dreamed of producing a prophecy series that showed the true beauty that has been distorted by so many other presentations. And now, that dream is about to come true. We want to make an entire YouTube channel dedicated to detailing the whole story of prophecy. I started with the 2300-day prophecy, but we want to expand that and make videos explaining all of Daniel and Revelation in this new and unique way. Prophecy is God giving us the end of the story before it's even happened. And if God thought it was important enough to go out of his way to share it with us, then the world needs to know. This is the biggest thing you can do to help. The more views and likes this video gets, the more likely this project will be supported by the Haystack. So if you really want to see this project come to life, then share this video with your friends, with your family. Get it out there. And let's rebrand prophecy. We haven't chosen a name for the YouTube channel yet, so if you want to offer suggestions in the comments below, we would love that.